You're listening to Procurement 6, the weekly podcast from the team at Art of Procurement that summarizes this week in procurement in just 6 short segments.
Hi there. My name is Kelly Barner, and today is Friday, October 25th, 2024.
6.
This week's episode of Procurement 6 is brought to you by AI for Non-Techies. You may remember their founder, Heather Murray, from Digital Outcomes 2024. She presented an excellent session on 5 things procurement should consider when evaluating AI. Now she has a series of educational offerings available, including both online and in-person training, as well as consultancy services. Heather's training sessions are action-oriented and focus on things like AI prompting for beginners, how to make AI sound like you, and introductory AI for visual content. To learn more about Heather and how she can help you succeed in this brave new world of AI, visit nontechies.ai or email Heather directly at heather@nontechies.ai.
5.
This week was a first for the Art of Procurement podcast. We ran a 4-part series, which we have done before. But this time, we ran it across both Art of Procurement and also Art of Supply. If you've been with us all week, thank you. If not, I covered the 2024 U.S. presidential election. Yes, I know that sounds very risky, but I created a set of rules that kept the episodes focused on the facts, taking source material directly from the candidates themselves. 2 things that I did not expect, but which I learned during this process, which I have to be honest, was much harder than I had anticipated. Number 1, we had plenty of downloads on both shows. In fact, it was a very successful week. But everyone largely kept their comments to themselves. I had prepared for a healthy bit of controversy. That's why I established the Roadhouse rules in part 1. But it wasn't necessary. Let's see if that holds for the day after the actual election. And number 2, the other thing I learned is that when you boil everything down to the facts, the candidates aren't terribly different on the policy areas where we focused: trade, tariffs, China, energy, and the environment. It isn't that they are largely the same because they always agree, but rather because there is not that much depth available on either side about any of the issues. Positions, yes. Indications about how those positions will be carried out, not so much. Listen to parts 1 through 4 to hear what our objectives were with the series, where each major party candidate stands on those issues, and finally how they compare at a detailed level. And remember, if you enjoyed my coverage of this particular news story, check out Art of Supply every Thursday for coverage of other supply chain and business news stories.
4.
I've mentioned that this week's Procurement 6 is brought to you by AI for Non-Techies, and that their founder, Heather Murray, spoke to us about AI at Digital Outcomes 2024. During that session, I had an opportunity to ask her how procurement should think about when and why they might incorporate AI in their tech stack. Let's listen to what she had to say.
The first step is to identify the problems. So start with your pains and challenges. So look at your processes and where are the weak points. So I think lots of people are taking it the wrong way. So they see thousands of shiny tools. You'll get an email through and it promises the world. I think there's an awful lot of really good copywriting going on these landing pages for AI tools as well. They all sound incredible. So there's a lot of AI overwhelm as well. So if you start with the tool, you're going to get quickly overwhelmed. I would recommend starting first of all with the pain and gather feedback, ask your stakeholders, what they think as well. So start with that problem and then you have a list of your problems and think, right, okay. Then set your goals as well. So what would you like to achieve with AI? It's not capable of doing everything. So you need to align your use of AI with your actual strategy as well, and your goals within your role and as a business as well. Otherwise, it can kind of veer off into its own thing and not really function in an optimal way. And then assessing your AI readiness is another thing as well. So data is absolutely crucial to all of this. Your data needs to be structured, it needs to be clean, it needs to be relevant. And for big enterprises to get AI ready, data is the very first place that you need to start, because AI is, you put your data into AI, the better the data that goes in, the better the results that you get. So you can have all of these, if you have all of this past data that's really relevant and really strong, you can make really strong decisions, data-backed decisions in a conversational way without ever needing a data scientist, apart from maybe to clean your data in the first place. And then evaluating your tech infrastructure as well, just making sure that what you've got can actually support what you're going to be using. So that's something I think people are making a bit of have made a few mistakes with, because if we were talking with legacy systems, using legacy systems, then it may not support what AI is. So there's a lot of AI first tools, and then there's tools that are integrating AI, and the efficacy of the existing tools that are integrating AI are not as strong as those that are AI first. They're really not. There's pros and cons to both. As I said, that brand trust is a massive pro tip, but it might not be set up in the correct way. So just evaluate that. And then looking for those quick wins as well. So in my agency, I integrated into everything, but it was just one tool. For me, it was recording our calls. So I had a note taker in there, AI note taker, and that produced transcripts. And those transcripts led to me being able to investigate pains and see new sales opportunities. And it was just a useful, really accurate recording of what had happened. And also some of them analysed body language as well, which is great for analysing sales pitches and client calls and supply calls and all of that sort of stuff. It's really useful. So look for those quick wins in that little tool that could solve that little pain, to feel what it's like to integrate AI. And then, of course, cultivating that innovation too is really important. So change management is huge here. People are fearful for their jobs. They're scared. Yes. They're very resistant. A lot of people are very cynical about AI. I get told many times a week that it's a fad, it's a passing fad. And I think, it's absolutely not. It's definitely not. It's going into it. And there's a lot of angry people as well. I'm on LinkedIn a lot talking about AI, trying to be helpful. But I do get a lot of people coming back going, how dare you bring this in? And you're trying to encourage people to be replaced by robots. And there's just a lot of misinformation. So I think change management and finding those innovators, those people that are interested in this naturally, is really important too for kind of AI task forces. And then implementation and monitoring. So beginning with pilot projects, test and learn with those small projects as you would with anything else, and track the performance of it as well. So going through those steps, I think, is a good way to start. So the main thing is beginning with the problem and not with the tool.
To hear Heather's full session from Digital Outcomes, you can click on the link in today's show notes.
This is Procurement 6 from Art of Procurement. To get notified every time an episode is published, go to artofprocurement.com/subscribe. 3.
In this week's episode of the Sourcing Hero podcast, I sat down with Aviv Castro, CEO of Sensos, to talk about solving supply chain challenges with increased visibility. Every time the world is hit by a supply chain disruption, strategies are changed, new technologies are invented, implemented, and invested in, and everyone vows to be too agile and resilient for it to ever happen again. And then it does. There is always another surprise, another disruption around the corner. The question is whether we will be ready. Listen in to hear Aviv's predictions for supply chain practices and strategy that will affect companies in the year to come. You can find our conversation linked in today's show notes, or search for The Sourcing Hero wherever you find your audio entertainment.
2.
We all know we need to delegate responsibility in order to get everything done and to empower all members of our team. That's very easy to agree to in principle, much harder when you are looking at a specific choice that needs to be made. Paul Lawrence is a veterans benefits advocate that I met as part of the LinkedIn Creator Accelerator program. He and I connected because my project on supplier diversity overlapped with his focus on veterans, and we've stayed in touch over the last 2 years. Paul often shares management essays via his LinkedIn newsletter, and I particularly enjoyed the one he shared this week about delegation. In his case, a hiring decision had to be made. There were 2 good candidates. Paul wanted to hire one, and his team wanted to hire the other. They found themselves at an unexpected impasse. What did he do? You'll have to read this week's essay, linked in today's show notes, to find out, as well as Paul's advice for why delegating important decisions is so critical, and what can be learned from successful and less successful situations alike.
1.
Before I let you go, I want to make sure you are registered for Mastermind Live, our virtual event taking place on October 30th. We have 6 sessions back-to-back starting at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, and we will be featuring speakers from McKinsey, Petco, Hearst, and our sponsors, Oro Labs and SpendHQ. Click the link in today's show notes to register, or visit artofprocurement.com/calendar.
Thanks for listening. We'll be back next Friday at 6 a.m. U.S. Eastern Time. If you've enjoyed this pod, help us grow and tell your peers to search for Procurement 6 wherever they get their podcasts.